Hello, welcome you all to yet another session on operating system course. We are currently discussing module 1. We had already covered all these topics and we are currently talking about the different functions of operating system, in which the process management, memory management, storage management was covered in our previous sessions. We talked about the memory management functions, storage management, and in storage management, we talked about the file system management, mass storage management, caching, input output subsystems, etc. So in this video, we are going to talk about the protection and security that is required in an operating system. Now, if you take the computer systems, most of the computer systems have multiple users and allows the concurrent execution of multiple processes also, right? Nowadays there is no standalone machine available. Most of the machines are doing the server process, so most of the computer systems will have multiple users, and the system also allows the concurrent execution of multiple processes. So whenever I have multiple users in a computer system, obviously each user will have a process initiated, so multiple processes will be executed in a computer system. Therefore, you need to regulate the data access. Not only the data access, anything, any resource as well as the data access must be regulated. Why? Because more than one user is going to use that particular data or resource. If so, that resource or data must be managed. This is very, very important. Now, when you are going to manage, obviously there should not be any conflict between the user processes or the resource to be accessed. Okay. Now, since we need to regulate the resources, the operating system modules must ensure that the files, memory segments, CPU, and all the other resources are operated by only those processes that by only those processes that are authorized by the operating system. So this point, let me it has to be can be operated on by only those processes that are authorized. Okay, so let me correct it there. By only those processes that are authorized. So this is repeated 2 times. I have corrected it. Let me save it. Okay, so this is the point to be noted here. Since multiple users are going to access, then the operating system modules, right, the mechanisms which you call as the memory management mechanism or process management mechanism, storage mechanism, these are the different modules available, and these modules must ensure that the resources are operated by only those processes that are authorized by the operating system. Now, for example, let us see, take this example. Okay, I take this example. Now, this is the memory of an of a computer system, let us assume. So this memory is now divided into partitions, and this partition is used by the operating system, and this partition is used by process 1, and this partition is used by user process 2. So if this is the case, the authority for accessing this partition, right, so this is the memory partition which is allocated for the first process, right? So this memory can be accessed only by process 1. So that is the authority. So this is the resource which is allocated to this particular process. Therefore, this process is the only authorized process for accessing this portion of the primary memory. So this is what is told here. It can be operated. It can be operated on by only those processes that are authorized by the operating system. So the operating system has authorized process 1 to access this part of the memory, whereas process 1 cannot access this part of the memory and it cannot access this part of the memory. In the same way, this particular partition is allowed to be accessed only by the operating system. So user process cannot access this part of the memory. So this is to be maintained or ensured by the mechanisms which are designed in an operating system. Right. So for this process, the protection and security are the two concepts which are obviously designed in all the operating system. So these mechanisms are used to ensure that the files, memory segments, CPU and other resources can be operated on by only those processes that are authorized by the operating system. So for making this possible, we have the protection and security. So let us see what is protection. Protection is nothing but any mechanism for controlling the access of processes or users to resources defined by the operating system, right? So if the operating system has defined a memory resource for a particular process, then only that process can be allowed to access the memory. In the same way, if the operating system has allowed a particular user to access a printer, then only that user will be able to access the printer. So this kind of protection is to be given by the operating system. Now any protection oriented system provides means to distinguish between authorized and unauthorized usage of the computer system resources. So this is another interesting point to be noted here. Whenever we have a protection oriented system, if any unauthorized user is trying to access a resource, then the operating system must inform the system administrator that some unauthorized user is trying to access your resource. Say for example, if your machine is having a root password, let us assume, and if some unauthorized user is trying to access your machine using the root username password, so many times he is trying to access. So when the user any unauthorized user is trying to access your computer system with the root username password, obviously the password will not be matching. So 3 times he is trying to access the root user, but he is not able to access because he doesn't know the password. By the time, there should be a protection mechanism to inform the system administrator that some unauthorized user is trying to access your system. Whereas security is a defense mechanism of the system against internal and external attacks. We had discussed in our information security course what are the different types of attacks that may happen, like some of the examples like worms, viruses, identity theft. As I told, like the username password has been stolen by some people, and service theft or denial of service. These are some of the attacks that may happen. So operating system must provide a security mechanism so that it defend the it acts as a protector against the internal as well as external attacks. Okay. So prevention of these attacks is considered an operating system function on some systems, while other systems leave it to policy or additional software. Right. So the point to be noted here is protection is some kind of mechanism you implement in an operating system for controlling the access of processes or users to the resources. Right. So this is a control process, whereas security is a defense process. So whenever there is an attack happening, how it is to be responded, that is security. Whereas protection is implementing some mechanism to protect your resources, right? So this is protecting, and this is a defensive mechanism, right? So defense, how do you defend when there is an attack happening in your computer system? So both are very very important. And these security and protection, most of the time this will be available in your operating system itself as a function, whereas some of the other operating system will leave it to the policy or some additional softwares also, right? So suppose, say for example, virus is one of the attack that may happen in your computer system. What you do, you are having an additional software called as antivirus software. So what happens, you have to install the antivirus software, only then you can defend from the virus that is going to affect your computer system, right? So these are the protection and security that is to be given in an operating system. And not only that, the protection and security require the system to be able to distinguish among all its users also. That is what I told, like here the protection and security must provide an environment so that this user process 1 is not accessing this particular memory partition. The same way, this user process 2 is not accessing this particular part of the memory, right? So that kind of uh, environment must be created by the operating system. So the protection and security require the system to be able to distinguish among all its users. This is very important. The operating system should be able to distinguish, this is user 1, this is user 2, this is user process 1, this is user process 2. Like that, it must be able to distinguish among all its users. Most operating systems maintain a list of usernames and associated user identifiers, right? So how do you distinguish among all its users? That is the next question to be asked. So to distinguish among the users, each user will be given a user ID. So as in your class, we have roll number, register number to distinguish among the students. In the same way, since the operating system will have n number of processes being run in a computer system, each process and each user who is initiating a process, who is the owner of that particular process, to identify that, each user will have a unique identifier which you call as user ID, right? So most of you might have discussed the user ID, group ID, username, group name, all these things you might have already studied in your Linux administration course. So that is what you call as the user ID, and in Windows we call it as security ID. Okay. Now, not only that, the systems generally first distinguish among users to determine who can do what, right? So, as I told, like an user ID will be given to this particular process, and this process will have its own process ID also. So, only this process ID will be allowed to access this particular portion of the memory, right? So distinguishing among the users is done by the user identity. Generally, user identity will be having a username and an associated ID also. For each user you will have one username and the user ID, and these user IDs will be associated with the files, processes or threads of that particular user to determine the access control. So this user becomes the owner of a particular process. If for example, let us assume if Anamika is executing a C program, then the user ID of Anamika will be associated with that particular C program. If Anamika is creating a document in a computer system, then Anamika's user ID will be associated with that particular document, so that the document can be edited or accessed only by that particular user ID. which is Anamika's user ID, right? So each user ID will be associated with files, processes and threads of that particular user, which is used to determine the access control. And not only that, group identifier is also there. The apart from user identifier, you have group identifier. You call it as group name, group ID, and this allows set of users. You will have one set of users to be defined and controls the files and processes associated with that particular group. Okay, so you know that you can have the groups created for, let me say, if a group is to be created for the BCA program, and all the users of that particular program will be given the group ID as BCA. The same way for BBA students, we can give a group ID. Like that, you can give a group ID also for all the users. You might have observed in your Linux administration, whenever a user is created, when you use your add user command, you can give a group ID also. If you are not specifying any group ID, default group ID will be your own username itself. So your own username will be created as a group ID as well as the user ID. Okay, now why we need to give this kind of group identification is whenever you want to give a specific privileges for a particular group. Let me say, let us assume that the only the BCS students are allowed to use the printer, right? So then what you do, instead of giving the access to the printer for each and every BCA user separately, you can create a group called BCA. Then you add all the BCA students in that particular group. Then the BCA group will be given access permission to the printer. So if you want to give this kind of privileges, then we can use the group identifier, right? Then whenever you have this kind of groups, it allows user to change to effective ID with more rights. So suppose, say for example, one BBA student wants to use their printer. So instead of or let me say 10 BBA students want to use the printer. So instead of giving privileges for each and every 10 BBA users, what you do, you just add all these 10 users to the BCA group, then automatically they will get the privilege of using the printer. So the effective ID will be changed just for the time being, for giving more rights or more privileges of the different resources in a computer system. So this is what you call as privilege escalation. So what we have done now, one BBA student is for the time being given the privilege of accessing the printer by adding her to the BCA group, right? So she gains extra permission for a particular activity. This is what you call as privilege escalation. So privilege escalation generally allows users to change to some kind of effective ID with more rights, that is to gain extra permission for a particular activity. So here what happens, 10 BBA students have been given a privilege of using the printer just for the time being. How it is done? These 10 girls have been added to the BCA group, or you, when you add them to the BCA group, automatically the effective ID will be changed, which will get more rights. This is what you call as privilege escalation. Okay, so that's it about the protection and security. We will be talking about protection and security more in detail in the upcoming sessions, after discussing the process management, memory management and the storage management. Okay, so this is just a brief idea about why we need protection and security mechanism in an operating system. The very important point to be noted here is, if you want to control the access of all the resources of an operating system, you need the protection and the security, because the memory manager, process manager or the storage manager, they are all used only to allocate the resource and reclaiming the resource, and all these modules will be just managing how and when the resource is to be allocated. They are not going to deal with the protection and security. So protection and security is the mechanism which is separately added to these three modules: memory manager, process manager, and the storage manager. So only if you have this protection and security mechanism, you can control the access of resources, so that only the authorized users are accessing the resource which are defined by the operating system. Okay. So we'll be talking about how operating systems are used in a variety of computing environments in our next session. Thank you.